It's Taco Tuesday, and I could not resist this new stacked queso crunch kit. So, for our ingredients, we're going to do ground beef, minced garlic, red pepper flakes, black pepper, some red onion, cherry tomatoes, avocado, shredded cheese, and a kale mix for the crunch. So I am dicing up some red onions. You also could use regular white onions. I love red onions. I've just been on a kick with them lately. You want to dice them up fine. And I'm going to do quite a bit because I'm going to saute it with my ground beef as well as put it on top. I love cherry tomatoes, so I'm also incorporating these to utilize in some guac as well as in my actual tacos. So now let's cook up the ground beef. I'm putting a little bit of oil and the minced garlic and the red onions into a pan. I'm going to saute it lightly before adding in the ground beef. This adds just an extra layer of flavor to the base, although you're going to use a seasoning from the taco kit. I'm adding in some ground beef. This is only the 93% fat. So it has a very low fat content for this ground beef, so it's going to cook down but not add a lot of additional fat. It's not going to drain from it. Now I'm seasoning it up, although again it comes with the seasoning packet. I love to add in black pepper, oregano, red pepper flakes, and season it before adding in the taco seasoning. So I'm going to let it brown up some, and then here comes our taco seasoning. Again, since it didn't render a lot of fat, I didn't drain it off how I typically would with ground beef if making spaghetti and things of that nature. So just sauteing this up, letting the seasonings get incorporated before we start building our taco. So you can add in whatever you want. I'm actually going to make a quick guac. This is going to contain, of course, avocados, some salt. I usually like to use Himalayan pink salt for this, and also some ground black pepper. I'm just scoring this up. You don't have to cut this in any particular way, especially since you're going to mash it, but like to usually do some lines through it to help it break down a little bit quicker. And I'm only going to use 2 avocados for this. I'm going to make a small amount. You know, usually because it's not a lot of preservatives in it, it can turn rather quickly. So I don't want to make too much, just enough to last for a couple tacos. So I'm going to put this in a small bowl and get ready to incorporate it. So I'm going to add in some pink Himalayan salt. And you're going to do this to taste. I know people always ask me about specific measurements, but it really just depends on the quantity. So usually about a half a teaspoon should do. And then I'm adding some lime juice in, and then again some fresh minced garlic, about a quarter of a teaspoon there. And I like to mix it up first and incorporate it before adding in the rest of my ingredients. I know people usually add in cilantro. I didn't have any. I don't really miss it when it's not in there, so it's not a big deal. So I'm going to add in some of those red onions that I chopped up earlier. And now I'm going to dice up some of my cherry tomatoes and incorporate this in there as well. Of course, you can use like Roma tomatoes and add them in, or you can also utilize these cherry tomatoes, which I like. I usually purchase them for salads and things. So I try to utilize them for more than one thing so they don't go to waste. So as you can see, I did a rough chop, and now I'm going back in and doing a finer chop on them. We're going to incorporate these in. Again, use as much or as little as you would like. I'm only going to use about 3 or 4 of these cherry tomatoes to just give it some extra flavor and body into our guacamole. I'd be interested in knowing if you guys make homemade guacamole, or do you usually purchase it from the store? Put it in the comments below. I'd be interested in knowing how you make your guacamole, or if you just prefer the store-bought kind. Now we're going to mix this up and get it well incorporated with the rest of our ingredients and prepare it for our tacos. It's so funny. I really haven't made homemade tacos in a while, but this guac is definitely going to help top it off. So I usually like to wrap this up and then put it in the fridge and we'll bring it back out a little later. Here we have our taco shells. I'm going to do half and half. And now it's time to build our tacos. This is going to get messy. We'll have some spillage, but don't worry, I'm sure you'll eat it off the plate a little later. I'm starting with a layer of the sauteed ground beef, and this came out really well. It's not too moist. It cooked down nicely and absorbed some of those flavors from the taco seasoning. So I'm adding some to both the stand-up shells. I love these stand-up shells. It makes building tacos super easy. And then I'm doing some mixed cheese that I have, some shredded cheese, more onions. Yes, you're going to need a breath mint after it, but it'll definitely be worth it. And then taking some of those cherry tomatoes I cut up earlier and then adding those into both tacos as well. The one thing that I didn't do for this was salsa. I felt like the tomatoes were my salsa, so I didn't need both. So adding in, I love this kale crunch salad mix. I think it gave it a lot more texture. It has some shredded cabbage in there and kale. It's a good mixture. Look at that beautiful taco. And now we also have the soft one, but it is missing something. I couldn't forget the sour cream, guys. I love sour cream. So adding just a dollop of Daisy. So love sour cream, and there we go.